as a Canadian, knowing that this is a French-Canadian author who apparently also lives in my city, or at least wrote this book in that city. I don't know if she still lives here. She does. Hello. But yeah, I'm really excited about it because it just makes me really excited when it's something Canadian, because I'm Canadian and I feel like there's just not enough Canadian authors, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just exciting when you when you pick up something that has been written by a Canadian author who happens to live in your city. I think I have pretty high expectations for this book, to be honest. Like, it's absolutely beautiful. Look at that cover. It has, like, you can tell that based on like these little black lines here, that the inside of it is going to have like some kind of part separation with some cool designs in it. So I love when there's just like that little bit of extra effort that has been done in a book. It does seem pretty big for a YA book, so hopefully it doesn't feel like a big YA book, but we will see. But yeah, I'm pretty excited, and this cover is just so nice. So from my understanding, Curious Tides follows our main character, who is like a mediocre healer, and she's in the school with a bunch of other people to learn how to become like a magical healer. But then one night, she and a bunch of classmates, I don't know, they're swimming or they're in a cave or something, but all of them drown except for her. And since that moment, she suddenly got much stronger abilities. And I think she has some other form of magic as well, but she obviously doesn't want to look like she did something or anything like that. And so she ends up trying to get help from this one guy who's like a really, really good dark magic user, but his sister is one of the drowned victims. And so they kind of work together to figure out like what her magic is, while also investigating why did these people drown, because suddenly now the drowned people come back alive, but then they all die in very like specific ways. And there's like a society involved. It's like a dark academia, mystery, magical story, and it sounds completely up my alley. So I'm really excited. It sounds like it has a really good premise, and I'm really hoping that it is as good as it sounds. So yeah, without further ado, let's read this book. Oh, but wait, we know the drill. This has a dust cover, and that needs to come off before I read it. And I'm gonna hope that there's a pretty design underneath, maybe like a moon or a wave or something, because like you can see the effort that's done in here in the cover. So I am hoping that we'll have a design underneath. So let's find out. I think the book itself is gonna be like a dark blue, maybe like a black spine, but let's see. Oh, I'm really excited. I really hope there's a design. Please, please be a design. Yes! Yes! Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, I love that. I don't know what it is. It kind of looks like an eyeball, to be honest, but it's not what I thought. Oh wait, actually I think this is the phase of the moon. Never mind, okay. Disregard me. But yes, this looks good. I did think it was gonna have a black spine, but it doesn't. But I mean, yeah, I was pretty close, and there's a design underneath, and that just makes my day. So without further ado, let's read this book for real. So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into Curious Tides, and here are my thoughts so far. This book has got some pretty heavy world building. Like, there's just so much going on that it's really hard at the beginning, as it is with a lot of books that have really complex world building, to get into it. But once you start to understand it, which I think I am, you're like, oh, this is actually really cool. So there is this world that's basically, there's also this like children's story that's connected to it. So I'm going to do my best to try to explain it as I understand that there are the tides, and the tides are in a way related to the cycles of the moon. And each of the cycles of the moon are related to like the maiden, the mother, the crone, that kind of vibe. And each cycle of the moon kind of gives people different powers, but they only get like one power. So our main character, she's born under a new moon, and so that means that she's a healer. And then there are also people who are like, this is where I start to forget what the other powers are, but like different cycles of the moon. I think it's the waxen moon, you're a dreamer. So like you can go into dreams, or your dreams can tell you things, like that kind of stuff. And then there are the very, very hated eclipse people born on an eclipse, be it lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, and they basically can use their powers all the time. It doesn't matter to the cycle of the moon. They can use their powers all the time. However, their powers are very, very different. One of the main characters can basically stop time or like change time, like do that kind of stuff. And he can use it all the time. But all eclipse people are at risk of collapsing, which is basically their power goes out of control and it can kill a bunch of people, and they have to get like marked with this like symbol that basically takes their power away, and they're in an institute and they pretty much just like lose their minds there. And so the other kind of people who are born under different kind of like moon cycles, they can only use their powers during that moon cycle. So new moon, only use powers during new moon, waxen moon, only during waxen moon, full moon, only during full moon. And the only other way to access it is by bloodletting. So like you let a bit of your blood out. So like you can like slice open your hand, or like any way to kind of get the blood out, and that way you can access your power. However, when you access your power, when it's not your moon cycle, you're gonna have a weaker access to it during the moon cycle, if that makes sense. And I think that it's such a cool concept, especially because it's like, there's this children's story that I kind of mentioned before, the Song of the Drowned Gods. And in that children's story, it kind of talked about how people had access to all of the tide's powers, all of the moon's powers. But eventually there was this like bad guy known as just like the Shadow that created the eclipse people. And then like, I don't know, I think it was kind of like there was something that kind of happened where it's like, okay, they don't get access to the full powers anymore, and like the tides are related. But like what I'm confused about, and I'm sure that I'll learn a little bit more because there's a lot of world building in this, that it seems like the tides and the moon are kind of like the same gods, I guess. But then they also talk about these drowned gods. And with the drowned gods, this is a story people are like, oh, it's a children's story, but one of the main characters, Baz, he is really, really into the story. And there's like this cult of people that believe that the story is actually true. And there's like this missing epilogue, like in the actual manuscript, it's been ripped out, so nobody knows how the story actually ended. Like it tells you how to access all your powers. And so we have our main character, Emory. And Emory was born under a new moon, and she is a healer. She's not like the strongest healer, but she's strong enough that she's able to go to this college. And her best friend is the one who drowned. And I don't know, maybe they were like good friends before, but it seemed like once they got to like this school together, her friend had started to kind of like drift away and go into like newer friend groups and stuff. And Emory, when she's kind of like thinking back, like she just sounds really, really envious of her friend constantly. Like not in like a good, healthy way or anything like that. She's like, oh, like my friend's better than me. Like she can do this and this. And it's like, that's not me. I'm not like this. Like, to be honest, I didn't really like Emory. Maybe she'll get better later, but she just seems super, super jealous and is constantly comparing herself to her friend instead of like realizing that she also has good traits. But then it also sounds like she doesn't even like her friend, but like she also does care about her friend. Like it doesn't seem like a very good friendship in my opinion. But yeah, she was there when her friend drowned and she wasn't supposed to be there, and she ended up like touching like the cave wall then, and she got this like symbol that she didn't really realize what it meant, and so now she can use a bunch of different like strange magic. And so she and Baz are kind of like working together, and Baz is like the younger brother of her best friend who had passed away, Rami. And so they've grown up together. He has a crush on her, and she's basically using this crush to her advantage. Again, another thing that I don't really like about her, where she's just like using people. But yeah, that's kind of like what's going on so far. And then for Baz, although like he does seem to have a crush on Emory, it also seems like, in my opinion at least, that he and his friend Kai would be really good together. But his friend Kai is no longer around. I don't know if he's like dead or in this institute. Like I don't understand exactly in the institute if they're actually alive or if they're dead. But his best friend Kai, when he describes this other eclipse user Kai, he's like describing like the most handsome man ever. And I'm like, is there a little bit of a crush here? Like, I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I was getting. I'm like, is he kind of like, he kind of likes, I don't know. Yeah. But then like Emory is definitely like interested in this guy named Kieran, who happened to be there when she was in this like cave area where like Dovermere, where she ended up getting the powers and stuff. So she definitely has a bit of a crush on that guy. So there's a bunch of moving parts to this book, and it's a bit overwhelming at times, but yeah, I think that the world building is really interesting. The powers are really cool. I don't really like Emory's character, but I'm hoping that she'll grow and become a bit more likable, because she's not really that likable, to be honest. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to read Curious Tides, and I will update you around the halfway mark, so I will see you then. So I'm definitely more than halfway through Curious Tides, and I still do not care about our main characters, but I think that the world building itself is really, really good and really interesting, and I really like that, and I like all of the mentions of the water and the tides and the goddess, like all this kind of stuff that's going on. But I do not care about Emory, and honestly, I don't even really care about Baz. The only character I think that I actually like and am interested in learning more about is Kai, but he's not even really in the book. Emory's character just annoys me. I don't really feel myself rooting for her. I don't even really feel bad for her, to be honest. She's just, I don't know. She's just kind of annoying. She's really selfish, and not in like a likable way. You know, sometimes you have some selfish heroes or villains who are likable, but she's not even really likable. She's just whiny and annoying, and I just do not care about her. And then for Baz, I don't really care about him either. He's like kind of the stereotypical recluse nerdy boy who pines after the girl and sees her in this like wonderful light, and that's pretty much it. He's got a really cool power though, like he can stop time. But I'm finding myself not caring about him because he's more into like pursuing Emory, who I don't care about, and who was using him, especially at the beginning. And I mean, maybe she's starting to like him now. I don't know. I don't really find their relationship very, very interesting or intriguing. I don't really find there any tension. It doesn't feel like a friends to lovers. It just kind of feels like there's no chemistry, which this was the same issue I had in a book I read a little while ago as well, where it's like you have an interest in plot, but the chemistry between the characters is not there. Whereas that book was fine because I loved the main character in that, but this one, I don't care about Emory. Like, she can go into the cave for all I care and drown. I don't care. For Baz, I don't care. I don't care if they find his sister, if she's alive. Like, I don't care about that, but I do care about Kai, the nightmare guy. He's cool. This book should be about him. And I was also expecting a little bit more about kind of like the cult stuff that they were talking about in like the secret society, but it was a bit underwhelming, where it's just like, oh, there's something going on. Oh, there's a secret society. Easy peasy. And it's like, what? That's it? You're like, you're already there? Okay. Okay, I guess. Why not? But I do like the magic. I really like the magic, and I like the school that they're in, and I like this lore with this whole like story that was written for children, but perhaps there's more to it. I like that. I think that's fascinating, and I think that's honestly why I keep reading the book. But it's hard when you don't like any of the characters in the book, and the only character you do like doesn't even get a POV or any kind of focus or anything like that. So yeah, that's where we're at so far. So I'm going to continue to read Curious Tides, and I will update you when I finish the book, so I will see you then with my final thoughts. So I finished reading Curious Tides, and I am really upset that I didn't like this book as much as I really hoped that I would. Also, please excuse my voice. I have been coughing out like 20 luns in the past like 2 days. If you like character-driven novels, this is not the one for you, and unfortunately was not the one for me. I really, really loved the magic system though. I think the magic system was really cool. I think that the school itself was interesting, the setting, how everything was all connected to like this book and the drowned gods, and the writing itself was very, very good too. Like it was very magical, like you're like, just like in it, but the characters, our two main characters, Emory and Baz, I just could not for the life of me care about them. I forced myself to try to care about them and I could not. The only characters who were interesting weren't even main characters. I really like Kai's character. I think that he's really, really cool and he's so interesting to me. And then even like the random side character like Vera and like her motorcycle, I'm like, that's cool. And Jay, they were interesting as well. And so it's like, these side characters were better than the main characters, and they don't even get much screen time, or I guess like page time. And even that, like they weren't like the most interesting side characters. You know, sometimes you read a book and it's like the side character just like saves the book for you, but even the side characters couldn't save this book for me. Emory's character, as I feel like I've said 100 times already, is she's just so whiny, she's so immature, and she's just like, she's so childish. I can't get over the fact that she's supposed to be a 19-year-old, but she acts like she's like 13. She's really, really selfish too, and she doesn't even really get a good redemption arc. It's like, yeah, she gets kind of what she deserved, and like then she's offended when somebody does the exact same thing that she was doing for other people, like manipulating their feelings and stuff. And it's like, I just could not get behind her as a character at all. And then Baz's character, he was very, very kind of like a blank canvas. His only kind of personality traits was like, oh yeah, like he's really, really into the Drowned Gods book, and he's absolutely obsessed with Emory. But I swear, if I have to read about that scene of them running through the fields as kids one more time, I feel like I'm gonna have to like unwrinkle my brain or something. I was just so exhausted of reading that over and over and over. And also, you don't really see the friendships. You see stuff that happens way after, so it felt like a lot of just like, oh yeah, we're gonna tell you that Emory and Rumi, or Rami, or however her name is pronounced, are best friends. But what all I see is that Emory's just incredibly jealous and like ridiculously mean about her best friend. And then with Baz and Emory, there was no chemistry. The characters, like, it was just that one scene of them running through that like golden field over and over. But the actual interactions they had felt really forced, and it wasn't for me, but everything else was really interesting. So that's where it's like, the setting of this world is so good, and the writing, to be fair, is pretty good as well. And it's like, it immerses you, but I just can't get behind these two characters, and I just do not care about them. I think the pacing for this book is also pretty slow. I feel like not much was going on. Like, there's obviously like some intense world building at the beginning, but it just felt like it was way too long. Like, this is like over 500 pages, and I think this book could have been cut down to like 300, and maybe that would have made it a bit more enjoyable. Because again, like I mentioned, I like the magic system a lot, and I was really invested in that, and like how it works, and like the limitations with it, and how it's all related to like the moon phases, and everybody has different magic powers and stuff. I think that that's really, really good. But again, it's just the characters I do not care about. So yeah, I will not be reading the sequel. I don't care about what happens to Emory. I don't care what happens to Baz. I don't care, but it is a very beautiful cover, and yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with this. So today we are going to be awarding Curious Tides a total of 3 stars. It's like a low 3 stars. If you've watched some of my videos before, you know what I mean, like a low 3 stars, where it's not like a 2.5, but it's not like a 3, it's like a low 3 stars. Because there are parts that I enjoyed, but then there are parts that I don't. And it's just that, like, it wasn't for me, and it always makes me feel bad when a book is not for me and it has so much potential, especially with it being like a local Canadian author. I think I just had my hopes a bit too high, but I do think that this writer can definitely write. I think that moving forward, maybe just a bit more focus on more well-developed characters, which I mean is very difficult to do, and so is world building. So the fact that this book has really good world building and just like a really interesting way that how everything all kind of connects together with the magic, I think that the author really knows what she's doing with that. And I know, like, as with time, I believe this is her debut as well. And so I know with time as well, she's gonna get even better at developing more realistic characters and scenarios and make the plot twist a bit more surprising. I found every single plot twist was very easy to predict, which, I mean, I don't really mind that too much, to be honest. Some people do, but for me, it wasn't that, it was the characters. And if I can't get behind characters, I really cannot get behind a book. So the next book that I'm going to be reading is Brandon Sanderson's Elantris, which is his debut novel. So I've been on a debut roll. I'm pretty sure the last like 3 books I've read have all been debuts. But this one, a lot of people have recommended to me to read because I've read a lot of Brandon Sanderson books, but I've never actually read the first book. Got him started into the world and being published and all this stuff. So I know he personally doesn't really like this book as much, but I'm really excited for it. And so yeah, that's what I'll be reading next. So if you're interested in watching me read Elantris or any other book that happens to be on my never-ending TBR, definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video and you hope that I am going to finish being sick so we can make more videos back on our regular schedule, hit the like button. I'm sure it will magically heal me. Also, great news for you. If you've enjoyed my videos and you've always wanted to watch my videos before everybody else, you can actually do that, and you get a bunch of other perks too, like custom emojis and badges and a bunch of cool little secret areas where you can vote about which books you want me to read, and that will automatically go higher in my queue, and I will reply to your comments first. If you comment, I will reply to you. And so yeah, you can do that by becoming a member of my channel. So if that's interesting to you, definitely check it out. And with that, I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!